son?
I am turning it on. Don't tell me what to do.
I can't. It's my house. Oh, stop.
You're not the boss of me. That's Carla.
Yes, I am.
That's Carla.
No, she's just a work mom. She is. She told me the other day I I enlighten her day and I make her day, but there's sometimes that she wants to punch me. She's like, sometimes I want to punch you. I was like, yeah, I want to punch me too. She's just like, shut up. Like,
How's everyone's day going?
Hermione's is going great.
I was at work, and for those of you who weren't at work or don't know where I work, we have a big boss, and his name's Rick. And he came into the store and he was mad.
He was grumpy.
He was so irritated. Our store manager went, let's not piss him off even more. And in that moment, I think me and my manager Carla looked at each other and went, oh shit. There was a customer standing right next to us, and the customer looked at us like, oh no.
Is that straight?
Yeah, it looks straight. So yeah, he was in a bad mood. Apparently produce made him mad. When we were going to lunch, Robert and Leslie were in produce.
Huh.
Cleaning produce.
What'd you eat?
Tataru.
Why are you eating? Why?
Probably eating one of his hairs.
No, probably food or something on the floor because, she's a dork. Why can you not just don't eat things? How's that? Just don't. And then we'll all be happy. We have 180 subscribers.
Nice.
Oh, do you like it? I changed it to that one.
I do. Oh, hello, Willow.
We have 180 subscribers, folks. Nice. 20 more to get to 200.
Very nice. Hi.
Quit licking the table. What's wrong with you animals and eating shit off the floor?
If any of you don't know, I am drinking the Mistletoe Rebel from Dutch Bros with an extra shot of Rebel blended. Hence why it looks a little murky.
There.
It's because it's blended. But getting an extra shot of Rebel, I will be able to lock in after this podcast because it will always hit after the podcast for the lock-in. So I can finish typing up the shoe fetish Slayer episode. Because that one's a hoot and a holler. I will say I'm proud of myself. I'm almost done with all of January's cases.
Oh, I was going to make the cookies today.
Almost all of January is done. So hopefully I can get all of February done too. I don't think so. February is one of those months that's a little rough. I don't know. Michelle's just pacing right now.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what she's doing. She's just pacing. Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to
So I chose this case. I decided that I wanted to go with themes. And so last episode was an oldie case. This episode is an oldie case. I don't like oldies cases anymore. I'm tired of all these cases. Because it's not that they're difficult to write. It's just that there's so much going on that you don't know where you should what you should include and what you shouldn't include. Because sometimes with the serial killer cases, I won't include certain things, like certain things they said or certain things
they do.
No, I do put what they do so we can understand how horrendous they are. Because as much as I hate to say it, I think there might be a little bit of a fetishization around serial killers in the present moment and in just in general in our society, a fetishization of killers. So sometimes I do put in the more gruesome things when it comes to serial killers so that when people hear what they actually did, they can go, That's a no for me. That's a absolutely not. I refuse to trust anyone who likes them.
Hey,
Kind of that kind of spiel.
shh. No. 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 What part of no don't you
Hermione,
understand?
that is enough.
No. 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 Brr, no. Nobody is out there. What are you barking at? Did you fart? It scared you?
Sometimes a dog hears noises and barks.
Hermione, when you're laying on this part of the couch, you kind of pull the.
So I'm going to switch from my iPad to my phone because the iPad is at 3%. Well, it's up on my phone, so I'll just have to find it when this eventually dies. So this case is a hoot and a holler. I hope you are strapped in and ready to go because this case has to do with lying, kidnapping, murder, flying an airplane to kidnap somebody, and it has to do with rich young white boys in the 1930s.
Entitled.
And we get to see what they do in their spare time. This is going to be the most interesting, wildest case
Wait, where's my
when it comes to seeing the other side of what was happening in the 1930s and what was like the norm and expectation almost of kids to act like, of boys to act like, more particularly. This does involve a little bit of a one-sided romance. And when I say one-sided romance, I definitely mean it was one-sided. And we learned that the creeps have been around for ages. They aren't a new thing. Because I'm pretty sure if this dude was alive right now, he would be on Reddit on a Red Pill podcast.
Could be. All right. I'm going to do something real quick. Well, you start talking.
Okay. All right. So the case begins with a boy named Phil Kennemer, and he was born in Meredith, or I misspelled the word. I think it's Meredith, Oklahoma.
Probably.
Meredith, Oklahoma.
How
So
was it spelled when you looked it up?
I don't remember. I wrote this in like September.
Take notes of towns.
He was born July 26, 1915. He was the youngest of Franklin and Lily Kennemer. It was clear from an early age that he was smart and he loved to read. In fact, he would often choose books to read that were advanced for his age.
Okay.
The downside to this was people said he acted peculiar.
Us people from Oklahoma are a little peculiar.
Well, this is one of those peculiar moments.
Mm.
It's highly disturbing.
Well, that's good to know.
When he was 5 years old, 5 years, keep that in your head, he wrapped a curtain cord around his neck and jumped out a second-story window of his family home as an attempt to take his life at 5 years old.
I'm trying not to make a face.
What face are you trying not to make? Are you trying not to laugh? Because when I saw it, I was like, what the hell is going through this kid's head?
Yes, that's what I'm like.
5 years old?
Again,
Hi.
Reminder, we laugh at the dark stuff.
5
that
years
is our
old.
slogan, is we laugh at the dark stuff and it helps.
And he ties a
So,
curtain cord around his neck
no
and tries
judgment.
to jump off a second floor. It failed.
Oh my
The
god.
curtain
Did it snap?
The curtain tore and he fell into a pile of sand, so he wasn't hurt. But it was very frightening for his parents, right?
Well, yeah, because you don't know what the heck your child's thinking.
But it was the 1920s, and going to a psychologist was unheard of and considered bad. So they didn't take him to one. So he probably never got the treatment he should have gotten treated.
Apparently.
Phil kept having strange behaviors that confused adults.
Mm-hmm.
He was really smart, but in school he struggled to pay attention.
Hi, Thomas.
which to me makes sense if he was really, really smart and he was super advanced in his schoolwork.
Yeah.
If he wasn't being mentally stimulated as a child, he may have started to stop paying attention, and he could have probably been upped a couple of grades, probably to help stimulate his brain so he wasn't so not paying attention and so out of it. He was also defined as defiant, and a common thing with him was that he rarely finished anything he started.
Okay.
So to me, he may have been a little bit ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit ADHD.
Okay.
But it's the 20s. They weren't diagnosing people with ADHD, and they were really going to doctors about stuff like that. His dad was an Oklahoma State Supreme Court justice, and he viewed Phil's behavior as frustrating because he had a reputation to maintain, and the kid was seemingly ruining his reputation. How a kid ruins your reputation as an adult, I don't know. The family ended up moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1930, and Franklin was hoping the change in area and structure of urban life would help Phil gain self discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But the move did, in fact, not help. Because he wasn't becoming who they wanted him to be, his parents ended up sending him to a New Mexico military institute in Roswell. It was a college prep school, and it was known for its very intense discipline. And in the 30s, you can guess what I mean by that.
Do I want to guess what you mean by that?
Sadly,
That's a better.
I mean, I want you to think about the 1930s and what was commonplace for discipline in the 1930s, and then put it in a military institute mindset. Yeah. In the 30s, you can guess what that was. Sadly, the military academy couldn't tame him. Just 3 months into his arrival, Franklin, Phil's dad, got a call informing him that his son had run away during Christmas break. That was not unheard of that kids ran away from boarding schools, especially those well known for being strict disciplinarian schools. But Franklin treated the incident with some alarm and seriousness.
Sorry. I'm listening to you. Okay. So when I got up a minute ago, side note, I was looking for the sound thingy. I can't find it. I don't know where I put it.
I think it's in the office.
So, and I'm not going in there. So I am like finding. I'm on Google, whatever this is, and looking for a soundboard. Go ahead.
Franklin treated the incident with some alarm and seriousness, probably because he was a federal judge. So he thought this could be something that had to do with him being a judge.
Then I was going to say not only that I was going to say him being a judge. Not only that, that's his reputation.
Yeah.
At the same time.
So after he got the call, Franklin sent his court clerk to New Mexico to locate Phil, and he alerted the federal authorities to also look for Phil. It ended up being one of the postal authorities that located Phil after 10 days, because Phil sent a 700-page letter from Galveston, more than 700 miles away from Roswell.
Oh, wow.
He sent a 700-page letter.
What did you have to write about?
Asking a friend to send him clothes and money.
Okay.
700 pages.
I mean, you need to send a 700-page letter. Dude, I need money. I need clothes. How many times did you write that over and over again? Did you just repeatedly write 350 times, I need money, and then 350 times, I need clothes? I mean, just asking.
I don't know. But that's something that's common with him is he has a very flowery language, almost flowery language. Despite the fact he didn't want to go to school and he was convinced go back to school, he was convinced to go back the following year when he was 17. He found a reason to stay, and that reason was 15-year-old Virginia Wilcox. Not gay. Bad choice.
I didn't even push anything. I just downloaded the. I just downloaded the app and it did confetti. It was telling me congratulations. that the tutorial was over. Wow. Talk about wrong timing. That was very wrong timing.
You'll see why.
That was freaking hilarious.
Virginia had lived her whole life in high society, and Phil was captivated by her beauty. But because of his tough upbringing, he felt close to her, she also kind of felt the same way. And he decided he was in love. Notice I said the words, he decided he was in love. They went out a few times to the movies, but Virginia decided pretty quickly that Phil was not her type. And she was like, I've had fun, but I think we would be better as friends. At least she let him down. At least she let him down easy. Phil struggled to accept this and continued to pursue her, sending her gifts and flowers all the time, and even asking her for a date 2 years in advance.
Okay.
She kept trying to let him down easy, though, but it just wasn't clicking in his head. Now, most teenagers, they get their heart broken. They would be understandably heartbroken, but
Okay.
Phil's refusal to accept rejection was a problem. His lawyers later told jurors never a boy had a date with Virginia Wilcox without Phil threatening to kill him if he hadn't treated the young lady with every respect.
Okay. I'm like looking at this because
So he is now,
Be
so
careful.
she's going on dates with other guys, and he's saying, "You hurt her, I'm going to kill you."
okay.
Which, so Phil went back to Oklahoma, and he was sent to a school.
Sorry. Go ahead. No.
He was sent to a school with in Durant. But he kept sending letters and gifts to Virginia almost every day.
Wow.
He was spending almost all of his allowance on the items he sent her, even borrowing money from friends when he went above his allowance.
What was his allowance?
I don't fucking know. So he finally was like, I have a plan to take a train to visit Virginia and hoping to convince her for one last date. And after that, his plan was to end his life and make it look like a hunting accident.
We're gonna like this
Oh
soundboard.
my
This is nice. Hang on. I got another one. Okay, we're adding that to our podcast sound. Where'd the other one go? What was the other one? The bruh. Yeah, put that on there. This is gonna be a good. Will you move? Thank you. Willow butt.
Willow bun.
Hang on, I got one for her when she gets up here.
Don't do Willow like that.
Every time she points her butt to the camera.
So the trip and date never happened, but that plan puts a lot in perspective about how much he viewed Virginia, and also how he treated himself. So in the early 1920s, Phil joined his mom on a trip to San Angelo, Texas, and they stayed there a few months while Lily received medical treatments there. She was having some health problems, and so his mom enrolled him in 11th grade public school. So at this point, he's a junior in high school. If she thought this would help his behavior, it again did not help.
Okay.
She was proven wrong almost immediately. He started to act out and he was running away from home on the regular, and sometimes he would make it to Louisiana, Florida, and also New York City before he was tracked down and returned to his parents. So finally, in 1934, a little into his senior year, he decided to run away again, much to his parents' displeasure. Um, To some, his personality was just flat out defiant and just seemed like he was being this way to be this way.
Okay.
Others, though, that ended up studying his behavior said he was an impulsive fanaticist, fan, fantasyist, meaning he was in a fantasy world and he had grandiose dreams and ambitions that he spent almost all of his time thinking about. But when they didn't happen fast enough or required work, he would just give up. He dreamed of becoming a writer, and his parents supported that idea and encouraged him. But they were also like, you need to make money. We aren't going to blindly support you. This caused Phil to get a series of short term jobs that Phil got bored with. He quit a few months later, including an so some of the jobs, including an advertising business he started with his friends that he hoped would lead back to Virginia. When it didn't lead back to Virginia, he quit. He wanted wanting his son to succeed. Franklin arranged for Phil to get a position at the Daily Oklahoman, and he even paid Franklin's salary out of his own pocket. That fell apart when he also lost interest in the job and quit.
Oh.
And fun little thing, Franklin told the newspaper, "Don't tell my son I'm paying you to pay him. Just keep this between us."
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This is fun.
So after that job failed, Franklin got him another job as a messenger at a law firm in New York, hoping maybe the change of scenery would do him some good. After a few weeks in New York, his family found out their son was getting involved with the wrong crowd and was getting involved in criminal activities. He was also trying to organize two rival gangs in Harlem to come together under his leadership.
Oh my god. Wow. I mean, it just said it for me.
Of fearing for his safety, Franklin and Lily insisted he leave New York and come home. Yeah, because he was trying to gang two gangs to come together under his leadership. So, yeah, that's what would have happened to him.
Oh shit, sorry.
Franklin would get him another job, this time at a law firm in California, on the other side of the country.
Okay.
That also lasted a couple of weeks before he left and returned to Tulsa. For most of his life, the chaos that was really just swirled around Phil got him a lot of attention, especially his dad paid a lot of attention to him because he managed to keep him from suffering any consequences, which is a downside. So when Lily was sick, that actually started to take up Franklin's time. So he decided to stop covering Franklin. So Phil didn't have a job or ambition, and he got depressed, and he started drinking heavily, and he was spending a ton of time with a small group of equally privileged but delinquent friends. I'm quoting a newspaper on that. So, okay. Um, so for months he hopped from job to job, spending his evening at the High Hat Club.
Hi hat. Okay.
Yeah. His life was full of activity, most of it pretty much built around drinking. He remained unfulfilled. He occasionally chatted with girls at club functions, but he was still obsessed with Virginia, writing to her constantly, inviting her to club dances. She was sending her he was sending her stuff all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and she was always declining his invitations. So crushed by the constant rejection, he still expressed his thoughts of ending his life or plans to run away and join the French Foreign Legion. You hit something?
No,
Okay.
I'm just like,
Yeah. Um, but he never acted on any of these plans. So in the spring of 1943, he took a job at the Freight Insurance Company where his friend and coworker Preston Cochran introduced him to 23-year-old John Gorel Jr., who was a dental student from Kansas City. He actually grew up as the son of a prominent local physician, so he knew what it was like to have come from a wealthy family with high expectations. And they kind of bonded over that. Unlike Phil, though, John actually always followed through and with what he set out to do. And he graduated from elite prep schools and he completed programs at local universities. He did a lot of good things, but he did have a bit of a wild streak. Actually, a lot of a wild streak. So, like Phil, John flirted with criminality, partially as a means of earning money when he was in school, but also for the sake of keeping things exciting. On September 12th, Phil got a call from John asking if he wanted to come meet a friend, Ted Bath, for a lunch at the Brown Derby Cafe in downtown Tulsa. Phil was like, great. So they all get together, and John explains that the three of them would work well together and suggested they try to figure out a way to make a little side cash. It didn't take Phil long to realize the way John wanted to make money wasn't exactly legal.
Mhm.
So Phil suggested a low stakes robbery of a local beer bar, which he assumed would have a lot of money on a Saturday night. But Ted shot that down, insisting a place like that would have guards and it would be difficult.
Are you
So
sure about that?
I guess I don't know. I'm not into robbery planning.
It's more or less what you said, that they would have money at the bar on the weekend. A lot of money. That's why I was like, are you sure about that?
So they continue brainstorming a little more, and Phil and John come up with this deranged idea. They were going to throw a giant party, invite a bunch of young women from prominent local families to said party, and supply them with free alcohol. And once these women were completely drunk, they would lure the women away to private rooms and take nude or lewd photos of them. Then use those photos to blackmail her family into paying a large amount of cash to avoid the photos from being leaked and to get rid of any scandal.
Wow. That was SpongeBob disappointed.
No.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be fun.
here's the thing. They started to throw out girls' names that they could invite to said party.
Mhm.
And Phil suggested Virginia Wilcox, the girl he was in love with.
Okay.
In his mind, Phil said his plan was to intervene during the scheme and save Virginia from extortion, making him look like a hero in Virginia's eyes. He thought this would win her over finally. Of course, Phil didn't mention his ulterior motive to the others, and Ted was like, thank goodness there's one normal person sitting at the table. Ted was like, no, that's a little too far. So
Mhm.
thank goodness there was one normal person sitting at the table. He didn't want to get involved. Ted was not interested, but John Gorel thought it would work a few days would work. So a few days later, he brought another plan to his friends, one of whom worked for Tulsa World newspaper rather than Tulsa World
Excuse.
newspaper, rather just exploiting the girls. He added another layer to it. Why don't we kidnap a girl and hold her for ransom? Yeah, they wanted to
Because
kidnap.
you're just whatever.
Yeah. With their connection to the paper, the kidnapping could get a lot of press coverage and increase the pressure to pay the ransom. So the two were put off and told Phil what was concerning him. He didn't like the idea of kidnapping her, but exploiting her father for money was just a harmless scheme.
Mhm.
He felt that John's new plan was far more serious and consequential, and that was a plan where someone could get hurt. So now he was concerned for Virginia's safety. In October, he told her brother, Homer Jr., about John Gorel's plan to kidnap Virginia Wilcox and hold her for ransom. And Homer did not believe him. He thought it was one of Phil's lies and stories. So, the next month after John went back to school in Missouri, Phil got a letter from him saying John was making connections in the city and figured they could get some easy money. So, he wanted Phil to meet him in Kansas City. Convinced John was talking about the kidnapping plan, Phil decided he needed to go to Missouri to find out what John was up to. So he told his parents that he and his friends are going on a camping trip for a few days, and he packed a small bag and booked a flight to Kansas City. So he arrived there November 21st, 1934, and he checked into the Phillips Hotel under the name Mr. Copeland from Chicago. And then he went set out to find John, who was drinking at a local cafe with a group of young men. John introduced Phil to his gang as Bob Wilson. So Phil's name right now is Mr. Copeland and also Bob.
Okay, Bob.
So Phil and John stepped away and started to discuss their plan. And according to John's friends who testified, it was a tense meeting. Phil had wanted Virginia to see him as a hero, and in order to do that, he had to control the whole scheme. But John's plan was a threat, not only to Virginia's safety, but Phil's plan. So, according to his friends, the interaction between Phil and John actually left John a little shaken. And on his way over to the restroom, he stopped at a table of his friend Dick Oliver. And he said,
Sorry.
"Take a good look at this fella. If I'm killed, Bob Wilson's the one who did it." Why the fuck would you not say Phil? Why would you not say Phil's the one who killed me? Why are you using the alternate ego? What? I don't know. Yeah, that's his thought process. I'm in danger.
I just came across that one.
A short time later, Phil and John excused themselves from the group again and went into a private room to keep discussing the plan. Phil decided as long as he could stay in control and keep ahead of John, he could still achieve his objective and make Virginia fall in love with him.
Okay.
John threw another wrench in the plan, and it was another co-conspirator, Everett Gartner. Like Phil and John, Gartner came from a well-off family. He was a playboy. He spent his time doing two things: flying airplanes and pursuing women. Those were his two hobbies. John roped Gartner into the plan because of his plane and they could use, which he hoped would be used as a way to transport Virginia. The three of them spent some time hashing out a plan, and Phil kept trying to convince John there was no actual need to kidnap Virginia. We could just send an extortion note. And John pointed out her dad was not likely to pay anything if Virginia wasn't missing or in danger. So Phil kept trying to tell them it's a bad idea, and that it was going off the rails. But eventually he relented, and they wrote an extortion note, and they demanded $20,000 in fives and tens, which in today's currency is $483,546.
Wow.
Yeah, they demanded almost $500,000. Damn. The note continued saying that failure to comply will result in certain and painful death for one or more of your children. After signing the note, yours in expectation, John Gruel added a PS to the letter, saying strict silence even in your family must be observed. After a few days in Missouri, Phil got a ride to Tulsa with one of John's friends, Floyd Huff, and it became clear to Huff that Phil didn't like the plan. And this came out because Phil was drunk. As Huff drove, Phil rambled about Virginia, telling him this story and how he went to Kansas City to kill John. And he pulled a hunting knife, a giant one he had packed in his backpack for protection, to show how serious he was about killing John. Huff said, "If you're so adamant about protecting Virginia and stopping John, why don't you go to the authorities with everything? Because that would make sense."
Yeah.
And Phil agreed that sure, that would work, but he had an even more elaborate plan in mind. He still believed he could save Virginia and win her back. Phil claimed he had a plan to stop John by taking him up in the airplane, and he would knock John unconscious, and then parachute to the ground safely with John behind him at controls, plummeting to the ground below. So John is just going to crash the plane. John's going to die. That's
Stop it. Stop it. I'm trying to stop it and it keeps going.
So good news was that the plan was foiled because they were too drunk to rent an airplane.
What the hell? Oh my God! No way!
Wasn't expecting to keep going like that. But okay.
So Phil said that it was that was my original plan. This is my new one. I'm going to get John up to Tulsa where he would drive him out to a remote area and pretend that the car had a flat tire, and then he was just going to kill John and leave his body there. Boyd assumed it was the drunk ramblings of Phil and didn't think about it. As far as people knew, the plan was for Phil to go home into Tulsa, mail the note to Homer Wilcox Sr. Then he and John would kidnap Virginia and wait for the money to arrive. By the time Phil got to Tulsa, he couldn't bring himself to put the note in the mail. So instead, Phil showed the extortion letter to his friend Jack Snedden, Preston Cochran, and Sidney Bourne, hoping the exposure would be enough for John to call off the plan. And if that didn't work, he said he would bring the note to the police and put an end to the scheme for good. So on the evening of November 28th, Phil placed several frantic calls to the home of John's parents, where John had arrived earlier because he was home for Thanksgiving break.
Mhm.
So he kept calling John's house over and over and over again, and he said he needed to know if John was still going through with his plan. But every time he called John, John was out. He kept leaving private messages for John to call him back. So now the following day, after eating Thanksgiving dinner with his family, Phil got a call from John, who we assume indicated the plan was still going on after hanging up the phone. Phil went to his dad and asked him if he knew of a kidnapping and an extortion plot, if it would be a good thing for him to capture the criminals. Franklin Kennemer later told the jury, "I told him it was a good thing to catch such people." So after dinner, they went down to the drugstore where Franklin bought some cigars and they returned home. The next time Judge Kennemer saw his son was at 1 a.m., and by then, John Gorrell was dead. When it came to the murder of John Gorrell, there is only one person who knows the answer, and it was the person who committed the crime, and his version is to be viewed with skepticism. As we have all seen, he lies a lot.
Hang on, I got one for you. Ready? Ready? Hold on. Where in the hell did it go? I just had it. Oh, here we go.
What if we have that kind of attitude? The car's repossessed. Nobody
That's not what I
believes in
wanted.
you. You've lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at the screen, reviewing it every day and saying.
I think that's the wrong audio.
It's supposed to be nobody believes in you is what it's supposed to. Will you shut the fuck up? Okay, I'm removing you. Bye. It's supposed to be nobody believes in you. That's all they need to say is nobody believes in you.
No.
So I didn't do that.
So, according to Phil, who is the killer, spoiler alert, after returning home from the drugstore, he went back to the store by himself where he ran into Eunice Ward and Hayes Williams. The two women had made plans for a double date
Leave
with
her
John and
alone.
his friends.
Leave her alone. Hermione, get over here. Leave her alone. Dang it, now I gotta get up. Hermione, come on. Get over there. Move. So she can leave. No, go. Go over there. Nope. Just keep moving your tush. Move it. No, right there. Lay down. Come on, Moonlight. Moo. Where'd you go? I don't know where she went. Why do you do that? She's trying to go to the bedroom. Hi. You gonna sit there and watch her and see if she comes out now?
Yeah.
Gotta be nice. She just wants to get out and go to the room.
So,
Silly goose. Nope. Let somebody get in their trash can. Nope. They're just getting the trash can. No, you're okay.
trying to find where I was. Okay, two women had made plans with a double date with John and his friend Charles Bart. So they told the clerk to relay a message to John he could pick them up from their date at the hospital they worked at. Phil was at the drugstore when John arrived, and the two made plans to get together later that evening to discuss the extortion scheme. So later that evening, around 8:30 p.m., Phil went and met up with some friends at a local cafe and told them he had made plans with John later that night, saying he planned to put an end to the kidnapping plot. Um, a little thing, no one knew what he was talking about. So they thought he was just talking nonsense. They didn't know he was actually being truthful and honest. Um, Phil even took out the large hunting knife out of his coat pocket again and showed it to them as proof that he was well protected should things turn violent. He said he didn't plan to kill John, but it was a matter of protection. It is worth noting that during his testimony at trial, Jack Sneeden contradicted Phil's account. He told the jury it was later in the evening and Phil actually did say he planned to kill John, and showed them both the extortion note as evidence that Virginia was in danger. Phil left his friends at the cafe saying, "Well, it's either Goral's life or mine tonight. You'll read about it in the morning paper."
Okay.
So, needing to kill some time, Phil left the cafe and went to the Quaker drugstore where he ran into Sidney Bourne, an acquaintance from school. Sidney didn't ask questions when Phil asked for a ride to the location where he was supposed to meet John. A little after 11 p.m., Sidney's car pulled up to 19th and Utica Street, where Phil got out and walked to John's car. And according to Phil, he and John started driving. He also claimed that he became irate when he learned that Phil had yet to mail the letter to Virginia's father, Homer. He said um, he then told John there isn't going to be extortion, explaining the scheme was coming to an end right there, and there he was going to turn the letter over to the police. If that didn't work, Phil said he had every intention of killing John right then and there. He said at the mention of the police, John pulled a 22 caliber revolver from the driver's side door and pointed at him. He later told a packed courtroom, "He had the pistol right in my face. He pulled the trigger and the gun failed to fire." Testifying in his own defense, he told the jury he struggled with him and thought, "We both had the pistol. The muzzle had changed directions. There was an explosion. So whether he intended to kill him or not is unknown. The bullet hit John in the head, and then Phil fired again, shooting John in the head a second time. And the second time is what killed him."
Mm.
Now, with the driver dead, the car swerved off the road because they were in the middle of driving at this point and jumped the curb, coming to a stop on the median between Victor and Forest Boulevard. Stunned by what happened, Phil wiped the prints off the gun, put it back in the holster, and dropped that into the passenger seat before leaving the scene. Then he walked the 2 miles back to the downtown area rather than just go right home. He stopped at Sunset Cafe, which is a small bar on East 18th Street, and inside he found Tommy Thomas and sat down next to him, where he wasted no time telling Thomas what he had done. Thomas laughed, not believing him, and found someone to give him a ride home. So 17-year-old Wesley Cunningham was on his way home from the movies when he happened on John Goral's car stalled in the median a few minutes from his house. Thinking it was some local drunk passed out behind the wheel, Wesley pulled over to the side of the road to investigate. It was after midnight, and actually snow had started to come down heavy, so his headlights barely provided enough light to see what was happening in the car. When he reached the driver's side of John Goral's Ford, Cunningham realized it was not someone drunk, but a dead man. He let me now go to my phone.
Remember what page you were on?
Yeah, so John Goral is now dead. He later told police, "I saw a very pale body with blood running down his face." And he realized what it was. He raced home to tell his stepdad what happened. It was then that they called the police to report the death. After making an initial evaluation of the scene, patrol officers thought the man in the driver's side had shot himself in the head while driving.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, so let me reiterate that. They thought this man committed suicide while driving a car.
And what made them think that? Pray tell.
The bullet to the head and the crashed car, that they looked at it and went, this man shot himself. That was the initial assessment. Um
Okay. Okay.
um that would explain the hole in his head and why the car jumped over the curb.
Yes, it wanted to jump over the curb because the dude shot himself.
The theory fell apart when they discovered the gun was not lying on the floor or in the driver's hands, but was laying on the passenger seat. And also, not to be crass, but he had two holes in his head, not just one.
Yep. So he shot himself the first time. Hey, wait a second. Let me do it again.
Yeah. Um, so when the case went from assumed suicide to presumed murder, it didn't take long to identify the driver as John Gorrell, and a notification was made to his parents. And remember, it was the day of or after Thanksgiving, and his parents are like, our kid did not kill himself. He'd only been home for the holidays for a little over a day, and as far as anyone knew, he hadn't gotten into any altercations with anyone, so his death was a mystery. Now, according to the coroner's office, he had been shot in the head twice with his own gun, and the second bullet was the fatal wound. But there was no other insights other than that. So detectives started reconstructing John's evening, starting from the moment he left his house to pick up his date. Detectives deduced he was killed a little before midnight, about 45 minutes before he was discovered, which was a pretty short time from him dropping off his date at the hospital to where his body was found. When they searched his pockets, they found he only had $1.50 on him, which included the 50 cents his friend Charles had lent him earlier that evening. So it wasn't a robbery. Now, as police worked their way through his friends and acquaintances, they were looking for clues to identify the killer, and they eventually reached out to his friends and roommate in Kansas City, Dick Oliver. When Oliver was told John had killed himself, the young man said no and explained that 1 week earlier, John introduced him to Bob Wilson and told him if he ever was found murdered, Bob was the one that did it. So police had a potential suspect, but they were not any closer to finding Phil because Bob Wilson didn't exist and it was Phil.
Oh wow.
On the afternoon of December 1st, Floyd Huff found out that John had been killed and he remembered a conversation with Bob Wilson in the long car ride back home. In a statement given to Kansas City police the day after John's murder, Huff told how Phil, who he knew as Bob Wilson, told him of his plans to murder John, and Huff was scared that Bob was going to come back and kill him too. He gave me his name, address, and telephone number. When pressed for more info, he pulled a piece of paper that said Phil Kennemer, Phil Tower, Building 40219. So he told everyone his name was Bob Wilson, but gave a piece of paper with his actual name and address. Floyd went on to tell Kansas City police everything he knew about the kidnapping and extortion plot and Phil's rambling plans to stop John and save Virginia. Although Huff's story was outrageous and difficult to believe, it was really detailed, which made it credible because there was no way there would be that much info in a fabrication. So police realized Bob Wilson was Phil Kennemar, a teenage son of a federal court judge. So while detectives in Tulsa and Kansas were putting together the pieces of the mysterious death on November 30th, Phil Kennemer was in Rogers County on a hunting trip with his dad, acting like everything was fine. When they were done hunting, Phil asked his dad to take him to a train station so he could return to Tulsa to transact some business at a bank. He was like, okay, and the next time Franklin saw him was in the afternoon of the following day in the company of a Flint Moss, a Tulsa criminal defense attorney. He shows up at home with his attorney and tells Franklin what happened a couple of days before. His dad was completely blindsided. He told the jury, I told Phil to go as quickly as possible and surrender to the sheriff. I had no doubt that Phil was irrational and irresponsible that night. So A. Flint and Phil arrived at the sheriff's office on the afternoon of December 1st, and the lawyer presented his client for surrender. And the deputy at the front desk didn't take him seriously and thought it was a joke.
Wow.
Um, until Moss made his official statement, he said Phil came to my office earlier today and told me he was compelled to kill Gorrell in order to preserve his own life. So the surrender and confession was picked up by the press who wanted more info. But when asked why Phil had killed Gorwell, Moss said, I have as much as I can regarding that matter. So Flint Moss may have determined to be tight-lipped around his client's actions, but Judge Kennemer didn't make the same effort. In a statement to the press immediately following his son's surrender, Judge Kennemer said, I have never dreamed such a thing could happen. I always instructed my boy to never touch the hair of a human unless it was a life or death struggle.
Hmm.
John Gorrell's parents also released a statement saying that Phil Kennemer was a friend of John Gorrell was a friend of Phil, but as far as they knew, they hadn't spoken in some time. They said the first time they heard of Phil was last summer, when for about a week would come by the house for John, accompanied by another boy, and the friendship was short-lived. I never heard of Phil until Thanksgiving Day. To the readers of the Tulsa newspapers, the Gorrell murder had all the makings of a perfect and perfectly irresistible scandal. Extortion, kidnapping, a beautiful woman, friends turned enemies, and a mysterious motive.
Dun dun dun.
In the absence of an obvious motive, the public and press couldn't help but speculate. What could have led to the son of a judge killing someone? They theorized it was a thrill kill. If it was that act of a band, if it was a thrill kill, or it was the act of a band of well-to-do hoodlums who planned robbery and extortion. The prosecution was less interested in speculation and more focused on if Phil was mentally sound at the time of the crime. Yeah, guys, that's right. He tried to use the insanity plea. Hermione.
Leave her alone. Hi, Moo.
Um, just days after his arrest, County Attorney Holly Anderson reached out to Dr. Felix Adams, superintendent of the Eastern Oklahoma Hospital for the Insane, and he asked that if a doctor could come to Tulsa as soon as possible to interview Phil and advise on his competency from the outside mental health evaluation. It seemed like a wise choice. In his statements that made his way to the press, Phil's only explanation for the murder was that he had to do it in order to save his own life. The story became even more scandalous when Sidney Bourne, remember him, the one who drove him there,
Yeah.
was found in his car shot in the head with an automatic pistol near the spot Gorrell was killed. And they ruled it was a suicide.
Wow.
Bourne's death gave credence to the rumors around Gorrell's death. It was a scheme perpetrated by a gang of wealthy young criminals. Only 20 minutes or so before he was discovered, he had been trying to reach Phil by phone, but the guards at the jail refused to let Phil take the call. People felt this was part of a bigger conspiracy, so not wanting to waste an opportunity, Phil's defense, A. Flint Moss, indicating that Sidney Bourne might have had information that could have led to exonerate Phil Kennemer. Even Phil weighed in on the news, telling reporters, I don't believe and I will never believe Sidney Bourne committed suicide. There is a theory that he felt bad and that he was going to be roped into the case because he drove him to John's car. So, with one witness dead and endless rumors, Holly Anderson knew he had to get a hold of the case and get Phil on trial as soon as possible, or there was going to be a tainted jury pool, or even an acquittal. So, Anderson became very vocal about going to trial as soon as possible. And he even expressed a desire to skip a grand jury. He told reporters, I'm opposed to any grand juries at the time. It would not do any good in this case. So satisfied, um, so indicating he wanted to go to trial mid-January, he said to Sergeant Maddox, he said, Sergeant Maddox and I are satisfied we know the facts behind the killing of John Corwell. While there was questions about skipping a grand jury, he felt positive he could move forward with the info they had. Now, there was an idea that captivated the public, and that was the idea of young, wealthy, elite families being out of control. Now, Phil's case gave the idea some credibility, and in the weeks leading up to the case, the youngest member of the Wilcox family, Homer Jr., was arrested uh, learned his after he had went out with his friends shooting out streetlights on the night of Gorrell's murder, for which he was tried and fined. But at the same time, Phil started to talk, and a gang of youths involved in criminal activity in Tulsa who were a part of a plot to kidnap Virginia Wilcox. Stating his belief that Sidney Bourne was killed to seal his lips and prevent him from giving testimony. Phil urged the sheriff's department to arrest and prosecute the gang who he had privately named. Sheriff Orris told reporters, "We don't have enough on those fellows to arrest them." There was also no evidence of this grand conspiracy. Most likely, he was leveraging the concerns to his advantage. The well to do gang story might be able to get him an acquittal, but if that didn't work, there was also the insanity plea. Um, in early January, Phil presented five conspiracies. The five conspiracy notes. The notes were nonsense, but did also back uh, it did also back the insanity defense. A. Flint Moss said, "I had not seen the notes, but Phil told me about them Sunday, and these notes don't contain anything incriminating." Then he went on to say they strengthened the theory that Phil was unbalanced. The defense team did the best they could to stall the trial, but aside from winning change of venue, they couldn't delay it. The press continued their focus on the case, touting it as the sensation of the decade, and it was one of the most sensational trials in Tulsa for a decade or more. The press didn't focus on the facts of the case, but instead on the members of the prosecution and the defense team and their histories of having faced off against each other. Phil's team was led by A. Moss, but also included a lawyer who took it on as a favor to Phil's dad, C.B. Stewart, a former federal judge from the territorial days who had 50 years of experience. The press, looking at the actors, were expecting a very exciting trial, and it began on February 11th, 1935, in the district of Pawnee, Oklahoma. The trial met spectators' expectations. There was dramatic rhetoric and flowery language and notable witnesses. The trial was a theatrical display that held Oklahoma and even the country in a chokehold. The opening statements were on February 13th. Things having 13 things had settled a little, and in his opening statement, Tom Wallace uh, of the States, in a straightforward way, laid out his case. He said Phil had initially agreed to engage in an extortion plot and kidnapping of his former girlfriend. But after a change of heart and a failed attempt to bring the plot to an end, he murdered his former friend, John, and more or less admitted that to the police under surrender. And police had collected enough evidence and testimony to prove it. While everything was on track, within an hour the courtroom was thrown into chaos when the state's first witness, Edna Harmon, said she didn't want to testify because threats had been made on her life. A. Flint Moss, when hearing that, shouted, "That is not the reason she's afraid." As the owner of the building where Phil Kenneman had rented a room, Harmon told police she overheard Phil talking about the murder with another young man, and that's why she was called. Her statements about being treated, though, came as a shock to the defense and the prosecution, with Moss demanding that a mistrial be declared and accusing the prosecution of hiring her to lie on the stand. He said, "I can prove a Tulsa attorney tried to oh tried to use testimony in another case. I can show you the letter. She asked for as much as $2,500." So basically, she was like, "I'll testify for you." Hi. So basically, after she so while she was testifying, every his lawyer went,
Mm,
"Objection! I can prove that she's being paid to testify this."
okay.
She didn't actually hear him talk to another person about murdering somebody. She just is being told she heard it, right? So after sending the jury out of the courtroom, the judge regained order, and her statements were stricken from the record, but no mistrial was declared. This set the tone for the whole trial, where everyone tried to outdo each other. Now, under no obligation to determine a motive, Holly Anderson, the prosecution, rested their case without ever really explaining why they believe Phil killed John. So the prosecution had no theories as to motive, but the defense certainly did. One witness after another, Flint Moss probed into Phil's history, providing a history of strange behavior since childhood, all in an attempt to sell their belief that although he did kill John, it was because he was mentally ill. Phil leered at his former friends that testified on behalf of the insanity defense, and he shouted at them before being brought into line by the judge or his attorneys. Franklin testified on his behalf and told jurors about his son's difficult social history, the many times he ran away, and the other trouble he had caused his parents since he was a kid. He also told the court that he was moody and depressed. The thought he thought that the French Foreign Legion would be a good enough place to be banished from decent
Excuse me.
society. Virginia also testified, emphasizing his obsession with her and his unwillingness to let go. While the behaviors described was bizarre and supported the mental illness defense, there was no testimony or documentation from psychologists to confirm he was mentally ill. Phil had been evaluated by several psychologists leading up to the trial, and only one, Dr. Carl Menninger, was willing to testify that he was mentally ill, irrational, and believed his own omnipotence when he killed John. When asked directly if he believed Phil was insane, the prosecution successfully objected, arguing that the doctor didn't have all the information and couldn't know that for a fact. When cross-examined, Dr. Carl said if he hadn't killed someone, he wouldn't say he was mentally ill. So the doctor just said well, he killed someone, so I'm going to say he's mentally ill because you have to be mentally ill to kill somebody.
Not necessarily true, but okay.
Yeah. So a little after noon on February 22nd, with the judge's direction, the jury got together to either find him guilty of manslaughter or first-degree murder. The latter would result in his execution. After 9 hours of deliberation, the jury returned to announce they had found him guilty on first-degree manslaughter. When the verdict was read, the court erupted in excitement, with several spectators applauding. Although Holly Anderson wanted first-degree murder, he was completely satisfied. Court resumed the next day for sentencing, and Judge Hurst sentenced Phil to 25 years in prison. In the judge's closing statements, he addressed the sensationalism of the case and the controversy, particularly the insinuation and assertion from the defense that the case was being pursued because of a vendetta against Phil's dad. The judge said it was suggested that the state wants to punish you to injure your father. It was also suggested that you might not be given the same trial as everyone else. In my idea, the son of a federal judge and a peasant should be treated alike. When asked for a statement, Phil shook his hands with reporters and said, so far as the closing statement of Judge Hurst is concerned, it was fair. I deeply regret the occurrence of this tragedy, not in its ultimate effect on me, but its effect on the innocent parties involved, including my family and that of Goral. As for his opinion on the prosecution, he said, gentlemen for the states are no gentlemen. Immediately after trial, Phil's defense team filed several appeals for motions for a new trial, but they were rejected and the original verdict was upheld. In the early years in McArest Prison or Oklahoma State Penitentiary, Phil tried multiple times to get parole, but was unsuccessful. Finally, in 1938, he lobbied Governor E.W. Marland for temporary parole of 6 months, which he could be confined to his parents' home in Arizona to spend time with his mom, who was dying at that point. After Lily passed away, Phil tried to get temporary parole extended, but then there was a less sympathetic governor who denied the request. Phil appealed on the governor's office in 1943, and he was successful in winning parole, on condition he would join the military and be sent to the front lines in World War II. He accepted and became a paratrooper in the C Battalion of the 460 Field Artillery, 517 Battalion Regimenta Combat Team. After the invasion of Normandy in 1944, his battalion parachuted into France August 15, 1944, which Phil and another soldier were shot down by Nazi machine gun fire. So before he left to fight, he gave a statement to a reporter from the Tulsa World, where he said, something just seems to tell me I won't come back. I hope that if I die, that those who have condemned me will hold me differently in their memories.
Wow.
And that is the story of Phil Kennemer and the society gang killing.
I mean, he kind of, yeah. I mean, don't know what the heck he was expecting.
Like I said, like they said, he was a fantasist.
Mm-hmm.
where he was in a fantasy world. He didn't think it would actually come back and hurt him.
No. That's why I should have used that sound. Are you sure about that?
Yeah. It was Phil Kinnemer, and what makes it worse, it was after Thanksgiving. And that's another reason why I did this case, was because it's this case close to Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he killed him like right after Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else?
Mm-mm. I can
Did
think
you
of-
like this one? I know Angela got in late.
Which, by the way, like, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
to you. Happy birthday to Angela. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
It was on Saturday.
Happy late birthday.
Usually it's Thomas is late.
It was.
You're welcome.
It's an interesting case because I mean,
Really not a whole lot of, obviously, apparently, reaction
yeah,
on this one. This was kind of more of a chillax.
a chillax case.
A chillax.
Meanwhile, this
case.
man is like, I'm going to kidnap a woman that I love, but then I'm gonna fake it and I'm gonna fight off and I'm gonna parachute out with her out of the plane, and the dude who was kidnapping her with me is gonna crash the plane and die.
Yeah.
I will say, to me, it's a funny case. It's a different case. Compared to all the serial killers we go through, there's a lot more
Mm-hmm.
reaction.
Yeah.
Because this is like something you'll. If I think like this could be a movie. I mean, it's kind of one of those cases that like you could make it a movie.
Yeah.
But it's not that interesting. It's not that like he did what now with what
See,
he did.
This would have been my. See if it plays it. All right, I think I found the right one now.
Okay.
Sorry, I've been trying to find a
Soundboard.
soundboard because I can't find the little one, and until we get moved, which guys, we have like 6 months left.
5 months.
I count December. I'm not counting now.
December, January, February, March, April.
May. You have to count May because we're still living here. Unless you two move before us, then you have 5
What I
months.
am telling you is either you're going to get an apartment and you have to be there May 1st or May 2nd for the keys, or you're moving at the end of May, so you have the keys on June 1st, June 2nd, because they can't give you the keys later.
What she doesn't realize and understand is we're on a lease. We're technically they're not, so they can leave whenever they want. So they could leave in April. They could leave at the beginning of May and get their apartment. But then we still have to stay here and kind of live out our lease.
Yeah.
6 months, 5 months. If you think about it.
Who knows? But yeah, this I think is one of those cases that was like semi interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next case?
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving. Next Monday, I give you what actually happened on Thanksgiving.
Giving thanks.
And next Monday, she gives you.
What we learned in school.
Yeah, she gives you what we learned in school.
I'm a screaming goat. What I love is the sound effect on the thing. That was funny.
So we're going to do Thanksgiving. And then after that, we're going to have one more oldie timey case, which is the Black Sister and the murder of O.C. Sneed. And then we'll have Nutty Putty Cave, Krampus.
Oh, there ain't a whole lot on this one. What?
And then we're going to have the Yorkshire Ripper for 2 episodes. Which reminds me, December 8th case,
Mm-hmm.
we have to pre-record.
Why were? Oh yeah, that's right. Because it's 2, right?
It's going to be the Black Sisters and the murder of O.C. Sneed. But we have to pre-record that one. We have to do the Black Sisters and the Murder of O.C. Sneed. We have to pre-record it because we have that thing on the 8th.
I was like, I keep okay.
Yeah.
I always forget.
Yeah, I don't recommend the murder. I don't recommend the Yorkshire Ripper. Actually, I do recommend it. Because if you ever want to see how awful a human being can be, this is a good one.
Bad feeling about this.
Yeah, you should have a really bad feeling about it. I did the Scottish serial killer. I finished that in one day. I did that in one day, guys.
Should find a sound effect for Scottish.
I am amazed. I did that in one day. I am taking my time with the shoe fetish slayer, though. I will say in the shoe fetish slayer episode, there is a lot of me writing in. It is okay to have kinks, guys. I'm not kink shaming. As long as the kinks require two consensual people.
Okay.
There is a lot of that being said in that episode. I think I am on his third murder, and I think he's killed. I think he killed how many? How many did? Oh, he murdered 4 women, so he has 2 more women who need to be killed.
Like how you just said, he has 2 more women he needs to kill.
Okay, he's already killed them. In my research, he has to kill. Also, if you really want to know a little bit more about him, and you want to see somebody do an excellent job betraying him, I 100% recommend Mindhunter. One of the first episodes, Jerry Brudos is the one they give the shoe to. That is the shoe fetish slayer. When I tell you, because Mindhunter also did the one where Kemper, and like Kemper is like eerily the same.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with Jerry. I don't know how they hired these actors and how these actors got so well. At one point, I was watching this and I was pretty sure they were possessed by the spirit of them. But then I realized they're still alive, so can't be possessing them. But they did just study them. Because I will say, let me, and kind of like Kemper, he was
Excuse me.
one of the serial killers who helped them build the psychology, the forensic psychology that we have, the analysis of serial killers. Him and Kemper helped them build how we profile serial killers to this day.
I'm kind of still looking like for another.
So this is Jerry Brudos.
Right, you showed me that.
That photo.
Uh-huh.
This is the actor who plays him.
Okay.
Now look at the two.
Dang, pulls them off pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know how Mindhunters did this or how Netflix did this when they did their casting. Like look at that. That was Kemper in Mindhunters versus Kemper in real life.
Wow.
Eerily the same. And if you watch videos of Kemper, how he is acting is very similar to how the TV show Kemper acted. So if you want to watch and see the mannerisms, Mindhunter, 100% recommended. It's a great show.
Kind of reminds me when I watched Narcos, and the guy that they had play Pablo Escobar, and then they would show like they'd have like their little flash side by side things where they would have the guy playing Pablo Escobar, and then the guy that was Pablo Escobar. And I was like, dang, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. So 100% recommend it. I will say Yorkshire Ripper, don't eat before you watch the episode. It is particularly nasty. I will say, so it's going to be at the end of December, beginning of January. We are splitting the case into 2 episodes because it is such a brutal and horrific case, and I am going to end the case, the first episode, on one of the more horrific murders. Just so we can have a week to process.
Since I
But
think, aren't we? Okay, so I know we're pre-recording. Is that the one we're pre-recording?
we're pre-recording the Black Sisters and the Murder of O.C. Smith. We
I'll get
can
it stuck in my head.
pre-record the Yorkshire Ripper. I don't know if you're going to want to do the Yorkshire Ripper back to back to back.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if you're going to have the stomach for it.
if it's gonna be, well, I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
If I have to say we gotta stop the podcast, then we're stopping the podcast.
I will say, after this, there is a reason I am stopping at this particular murder. One of his victims, it was particularly horrific. It's the one that made me cry. We're stopping the episode. We'll have a week to process what we heard, and then we'll go from there. One episode may be a little bit longer than the other. To me, that's fine.
And then the reason why we're saying we're probably gonna pre-record, because I mean, and when it gets closer to us moving, anyways, we're
Yeah.
gonna pre-record.
Yeah, and that's why I'm
Right.
trying to type as much as I can in like the more early months of 2026, so that when we're moving, I'm not worried about typing. I'm not worried about writing episodes. I am involved in the move. Hence why I'm so excited the fact that I'm in January. I'm almost, because I've done the Yorkshire Ripper, I've done Peter Manuel, the Beast of Birkinshaw. So Jerry Brudos, the Shoe Fetish Slayer, is week 3 of January, and then I think it's the Glamour Girl killer. The Glamour Girl or the Lipstick Killer, or the Career Girl Killers.
Yeah.
That one is next, and then I'll be in February. In February, I think we have we don't have a Q&A in February because I do the Career Girl or the Lipstick. Then we go into the Valentine's Day Massacre, and then we do Timothy Coggins' murder.
I think we're calling February Lovers Month or something like that. Is that?
I don't know, because I do also want to focus kind of on Black History Month.
True. Oh yeah, that's right.
And hence why we're doing the Timothy Coggins murder,
Mm.
because that is a very, very horrific crime that was only solved in 2016. Technically, it was solved before then. Everyone knew who killed Timothy Coggins, but nobody arrested him or did anything because, spoiler alert, everyone was a part of the Klan. Shocker. And then March, April, Jack the Ripper, Ed Gein. I think we're doing Ed Gein, and then we are doing Tucson Killings.
Oh, yeah, because before we moved, we were wanting to do something that was before
Yeah.
we left.
We're doing Tucson Killings, and then we're doing Jack the Ripper.
I'm curious about that case. That's why I'm smiling.
Jack the Ripper is going to be at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 episodes.
Because there were some things that I was watching. Again, we have that true crime TV thing, and or it's on the cable. That there was one that it was talking about Jack the Ripper, and there's a place that he killed in the basement. He killed the call girls or whatever.
Mary.
And they're saying that it's haunted, but it's like a bar or something like that.
So he didn't kill anyone. The only person he killed inside was Mary, and he killed her inside her home. He killed a lot of women outside of a bar, outside of bars.
Because they say it's very haunted in the basement of the bar, and they were saying that that's where he frequented.
Yeah,
is there.
So we will talk about that, because when I do Jack the Ripper, I really want to focus on the history, because I think like especially because it's English history, we know a lot of American history. So, like, the British justice system works completely differently. So, there will be moments where I have to stop and explain. It's kind of like with Fred and Rose West,
Mm.
how I had to stop and be like, okay, so when Fred was confessing, didn't have just the police officers and his defense team. They also had to have a social worker in there.
Mm-hmm.
They had to record it. It's a whole different process in England when it comes to the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also we think in our heads we have this preconceived notion about what English history is because we never learned English history. We learned American history. So, have to do a little bit of information on how England ran and operated when Jack the Ripper was around. So, one of the episodes is going to be a really boring episode for you guys. We're going to talk about history and all that fun jazz.
I like
But then we're going to get into some of the opportunities. I know one episode is just going to be theories. One episode is just going to be theories about who Jack the Ripper was. Because I mean, there's some crazy ones. That Jack the Ripper is a demon. Um, uh, that Jack the Ripper was, I think, a wealthy person. Jack the Ripper was a woman. There's a whole bunch of different theories on Jack the Ripper. There are whole entire people who call themselves Ripperologists, who all they do is study Jack the Ripper. So it's going to be
I have a book on Jack the Ripper.
an interesting period of time.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about. We're going to have a lot of things. When it comes to Ed Gein's case, I might do a little bit of a. We're going to talk about like how Ed Gein has influenced modern day thing. Yes. How we're going to talk about Ed Gein and how he's influenced like modern day movie media, but also I would say also influenced some serial killers because when we learn about Ed Gein, right? Because Gein was in the 30s
Mm-hmm.
or even earlier than the 30s. Not the 30s because the Great Depression did a number on his family. Maybe earlier. I forget his time frame. But there's a lot of speculation that Ed Gein helped influence many of the serial killers that we have already talked about, and many of the killers we are going to talk about.
Okay.
Just kind of like how H.H. Holmes influenced some serial killers.
Yeah.
So those two are Ed Gein and H.H. Holmes are considered America's first. H.H. Holmes is America's first serial killer, but he is more con man serial killer. Ed Gein is more serial killer in the most detestful, grossest way
Yeah.
that we know now. But yeah,
I'm pulling up Fourth Wall because she hasn't seen the design of the shirt
yeah,
that I've done.
but yeah. I know we're doing Isabel Solis. We're
Mhm.
doing that one. We're doing a car bomb case in Tucson. What?
Is that before we move?
Yeah, we're doing it. Well, I think this is one of the episodes we'll be pre-recording, and we'll have it automatically upload.
Okay. I'm trying to zoom in, but it won't let me. It won't let me zoom in.
Oh, but I can still see it.
That's just one shirt. I still have to do more shirts.
But yeah, so it is gonna be it is gonna be an interesting time. So yeah. You might see us closer to like the holidays bake while we talk about stuff.
Jeez.
Who knows? You might see us East Side Drive. No, we're doing one that was actually like in front of I think it was Weston La Paloma. A car bomb went off there.
Ooh, I like La Paloma.
Yeah. It was like, and I will tell you, it was like a couple years before they found the bomber. It was like, it is a wild case. And not like wild in the sense like all the serial killers one. It's like wild in the case that you kind of know who did it, but there was no evidence.
Mm.
No, this is Gary Trevino, I think. Is the case. He was the one who died in a car bomb, if I'm not mistaken. Let me find it. The title of it.
Oh, well, she's looking that. Talked to my sister for 2.5 hours today about
Gary
Gary
Trino. Gary Trino was a gentleman. Triano. I was tired when I wrote the name down. Gary Triano was killed in a car bomb.
Oh,
Oh,
when did that happen?
let me look it up. I forgot what year it happened.
I don't watch the news, so I don't know when things happen. The news is not a friend to me. 96.
Yes, 1996. The people who were in charge, who were guilty of his death, did not get charged until 2 decades after the murder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Special people.
Yeah. Yep. The La Paloma Country Club is where his car blew up. Yes, Michelle can talk to anyone on the phone for 2 hours. I can't either, Thomas.
It's my family. I can talk to my family for 2 hours, especially when we're talking about moving and all that fun jazz. And just we've been trying to do more like phone conversations and just keeping in touch a lot better than we used to. Where we could text, that's great, fine and dandy. She homeschools my, especially her family. Yeah, no, I could talk to my family on the phone.
I also cannot talk to my family for 2 hours.
It's more, like I said, it's more or less just checking in, see how things are going. John and I were planning on possibly going back to, um,
No, it doesn't.
going back there in March, even if it's just to visit and whatnot. And she brought up some pretty good points about moving that I'm going to talk to John about when he gets home. She brought up about taking some of our stuff up there that we don't need here, and then leaving the little trailer that you get from U-Haul up there. Obviously, I don't talk to them that long, but I do listen to them that long, right?
But yeah, I'm almost finished with January. I will say the cases though, all the podcasts, because most of the podcasts I listen to only go about either an hour or an hour and a half. So I do a lot of cutting when I do this stuff. Especially when it's like the shoe fetish killer.
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes. So the reason I'm so excited is because I've already finished almost a whole entire episode on him. And now I gotta do like another couple episodes. And the same for the lipstick killer, the glamour girl. Almost all of the murders I've chosen are big murders. So, but yeah. So, all right. I think we're done.
I said to him,
We will sit and talk with you next Monday.
when is our next Q&A again?
Our next
It's
Q&A.
not for a while.
Our next Q&A is in December.
We have five more
Yeah.
episodes, and then we have another Q&A.
Yeah, our next one is in December. It's Krampus.
That's right.
It is.
It was Krampus. That's correct.
Yeah.
Because I have the Disney thing on the 8th.
Yeah, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
So the
4 episodes. Yes,
Krampus. Did you ever see the movie of Krampus? It's so stupid.
I love how we do a Q&A and then immediately go into the most roughest killing of all time. We need a break.
Yeah. I'm surprised she can type as long. I'd be like, no, I got to take a break from typing. I can't do that. Even when doing these. I did too, because that was so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That even doing lives, I had to stop and take breaks because I can't sit in front of a phone or something for a long period of time. Because if I do, I notice that it makes me sick.
Yeah, I have just I'm constantly not feeling well, so I just learned to.
Yeah, we're trying to get her
Bad choice.
we're trying to get her to take a break, and like where we pre-record some episodes.
Yeah. We learn a little bit about the original lore, where it came from, some of the traditions, all that fun stuff. I already wrote that one.
I'm tired.
Okay, tired.
That's like hilarious because I got to sleep in a little bit today.
Yeah.
I went to bed at midnight. Got to sleep until 8, which is, well, a little after 8 because John was leaving. Her shoes out.
But yeah, no, I went to work today, so I'm a little tired. As soon as we're over with this, I'm gonna actually put our grocery list together,
I'm gonna go take a shower.
and then I'm gonna continue typing, and hopefully I can type.
You slept till 5. Oh my gosh. And then, I mean, I have for to drink my stuff. I've been drinking coffee all freaking day. Tomorrow it's gonna be a great day.
Or if Krampus doesn't hit you with birch trees, because he carries a little piece of birch wood and he just hits you over the head with it repeatedly.
Mhm. It's like I wanted to watch that movie just because I wanted to see what it was about, and then when I watched it, I was like, I just wasted part of my life watching this.
Mm-hmm.
It was so stupid. I just okay. I'm like that is one I will not watch ever again. It's not happening. I just don't. It was like it was dumb. I'll just put it that way. It was really really dumb. Probably gonna like see if I can shop around and find some more. Trying to find the right soundboard for what our podcast is, but there ain't a whole lot to choose from, which is not fun. Yeah, even on my days off, I'll sleep until maybe 7.
Yeah, my sleeping in is also until 7. You
'Cause
can ask her. I'll actually get up before her most of the time, and I'll be
Mhm.
in here. Most of the time, I'm tired.
Yeah, I don't like getting up early. One, I'm not a morning person unless we're going on vacation, and that's the only time I'm a morning person. Other than that, like we were I was talking to my sister about us moving, that we were gonna stop because we have animals. I don't want to drive just straight from here to there, and the animals, are in distress. 2
Yeah,
trucks tonight.
I know it's 2 trucks. I think apparel had 100 pieces on it.
Oh,
Just apparel had 2,300 pieces, which is yay!
more stuff.
Fantastic! You already have 4 pallets on the freaking floor.
And you're off tomorrow, so.
Yeah,
And guess who's in the fitting room? Raise your hand. Be me.
and I realized I can't be in the fitting room on Wednesday because after I'm starting on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday until the foreseeable future. I don't exist.
Oh, I know.
I'm working pallets.
Well, I mean, nothing else. They could put Jasmine in there so she can kind of get used to being in the fitting room, and I can work with Carla.
Yeah, you can see.
Because I'm trying. I want to learn to. Okay, so the other day we were trying to merchandise, and I'm just standing there. Like I felt useless because I don't know what I'm doing. And our boss is like, "Well, what would you do with it?" I'm like, "I don't know. You see what I wear every day."
Okay,
Blue
so
jeans and t-shirts. I don't but then they're all showing me. It's like, well, okay, she put a pair of pants. I think you were off. We moved the Lee pants around, and she goes, okay, so pick a shirt from Time and True because it was, or no, it was Time and True pants. So we did Time
with
and
this
True,
like a shirt with a skirt or something like yeah, that's
and so well, no, this one was like dressy. She wanted me to find a dressy top to go with the dress pants. I'm like, all right. So I just looked straight at the one that I found. I was like, here's this. And I gave it to her. And she's like, okay, so see? I'm like, that does not mean anything to me. That does not mean I know how to merchandise and that I can merchandise.
no
I just
merchandise.
find the one thing that I think will go with them pants, and then I slap it with it. And
Okay,
if it
that
goes
is
with it, but if it goes with it, it goes with it. I don't merchandise because when I do try to merchandise, people are like, that doesn't go good. I'm like, then why am I doing it?
okay. Merchandising is just making an outfit.
I make outfits every day. Blue jeans and t-shirts.
Okay.
That's all I know.
And that's the thing. So like the bow sweater, they put them with the bow jeans.
Oh no, see, they don't do that, Angela. When they merchandise, they put it. I mean, yes, they do it. Put it right near each other or right next to each other. Our department does not follow mods.
Yeah, okay.
Ours
First of
is
all,
more.
that's
Ours is
because if home office is ever watching this, get your mods together. I get
Yeah.
it. You're trying to price point it. But don't put different things that
exactly.
don't go together
Uh-uh.
with it.
Oh wait, I lie. I did merchandise until somebody touched it. There was a whole justice wall. Remember, you guys told me to merchandise that,
Mhm.
and I merchandised that. I had it perfect. I liked it. I liked the way it ended up to being, and then no, somebody else decided that they wanted to touch it and fuck it all up. So I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to merchandise because if I do it, somebody's just going to come behind me and move it. Granted, people who work in that department have that right because it's their department. They do what they want with it. But it was a huge wall, and I'm putting stuff up there, and I'd step back and I look at it. I'm like, okay, no, I don't like that right there. Here, let's do this. And what was it? The Bugs Bunny? It was the Bugs Bunny stuff and Lola. So it was like Lola Bugs Bunny stuff for girls for justice, and I put it all up there. And then the NYC wall, I just don't get that crap. That's just too much for me.
NYC, you have to
Picture frames with hangers.
NYC, and I know this is going to sound weird, you have to look at how the younger generations are dressing. And you kind of see it a little bit more because you see what the younger kids are bringing into the fitting room.
Yeah, and I kind of look at him like, you're my daughter, you wouldn't be wearing that.
Okay, but see, that's
And
the
that's
thing.
my brain.
And see, that's the thing. That's how you have to think when you're merchandising. What would a teenage girl wear? What would a teenage girl nowadays wear? What would they put
skimpy
together?
and short. This is NYC actually.
They do, but the mod's bad.
Yeah, the mods don't look right.
The mods look terrible.
But I mean, if they're all on the same wall, understandable. It's just not going to go with what they wanted. And like with Justice, it was a lot of product. It was a big wall. I like how I had it. And then our boss seen it, said it was good, and then it got messed up.
Yeah.
And then same thing on the NYC wall. It looked good. Because I don't know.
Yeah, like for
doesn't know a damn thing. You're correct on that.
Yeah, no, like for example, they stuck a bunch of sweaters together, right? Why do we have a bow sweater and we're separating it far away from a pair of jeans that have like bows tied on the sides?
Those were cute, by the way.
If you have a bow shirt, you got a sweater with like a bunch of bows on it, put it next to the jeans that got bows on it.
Because we have a pair of jeans that's got 2 pink bows, and then we have the pink bow sweatshirt.
Exactly.
And then a white bow sweatshirt. It's like, well, that's cute.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
Like when it so I think it was either one of our coworkers, they put we have like these velvety tops and we have these short skirts, these short shorts. They're like short. And it's like a tank top. And when you put them together, they kind of come out cute. The shorts are like really glittery, but then because the top isn't glitter, but it's velvet, so it kind of has a sheen to it, kind of goes well together. But there is a fur coat that they found.
It's a pimp coat.
No, not the pimp coat. It's a different fur coat. It's a shorter fur coat.
Okay, it's a mini pimp coat.
That goes really well with the velvety.
It's a hooker
shirt. So it kind of looks like a really cute outfit.
And I seen that. I seen the little curve. What happened to our big pimp coats? Because Mercedes was wanting to know where they went.
They were in the rolling rack with all of the NYC stuff.
Yeah, but they're not out on the floor.
Yeah, because we put them on a rolling rack because we couldn't finish merchandising.
Because she was working it.
Yeah, it's in the back.
So she was like, where did they put the I bet they sent them back. That's what she said.
Yeah, we sent them back.
And I'm like,
we didn't have time.
Don't know.
We were too busy merchandising the athletic department.
I will say the one fun thing about apparel is yes, you do get to see all the cute stuff that comes in.
Okay. Like I really can't wait for Angel Tree so I can make outfits.
Which now ours is out for people that live here in Tucson and wanted to know and called Walmart and asked. I thought it was supposed to be out this Saturday, but I was wrong.
Oh, heads up. If you weren't there, Thomas, heads up. A lot of notes from Rick. Rick was mad.
He was in a grumpy mood. He was a grumpus.
He walked in, and let's just say when I was going to lunch at my 6 hour, mind you, my 6.5 hour, because I didn't go to lunch till like 11:30. Robert, Leslie, and a couple other coaches were in produce. Something.
Right?
Well,
he's married.
They were in produce. He ripped into it. He walked in, and Sergio was on the radio saying, "Can we please fix this? Because we don't want to piss off him more than he's already pissed
And
off."
apparently he said pissed off, and he's never
Yeah,
said
he
that
pissed
before.
off. He said pissed off on the radio, which he's never said before.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah.
they are. And he got mad at them for not being clean and not
being full. You
not
said they
being
weren't
full,
stocked.
not being stocked. It's usually if produce looks okay,
He won't say nothing.
like he walks by and it looks fine. Like the bananas weren't stocked, the potatoes weren't stocked either. So he walks in, and the reason he does that is because the first thing you see typically is produce. So he wants produce to look better than anything ever.
Immaculate.
And if produce looks kind of okay, he'll walk by it. He'll be like, okay, that's fine. You know what? It looks pretty okay. He'll walk by dry grocery, and usually won't care about
He
anything.
goes by apparel too, but he kind of skips over that.
He saves apparel for last because he waits for their whole entire store to determine how he's going to feel before he gets to us. And most of the time, he's in a pissed off mood when he gets to apparel. So he decides to just rip us apart.
Yeah.
If we don't get ripped apart for the 4 pallets on the floor, yeah, he never seems to have a problem with hardware. You guys are fine. You guys are great. But when I say he was mad at produce, and then usually, yeah, when I tell you, so usually he just walks by dry grocery, and if the sidekicks and everything looks pretty, he's fine. If he sees the pretty end caps, he's good. Apparently, he was walking through up and down the aisles, just going through and taking pictures. So he was not happy with dry grocery.
Mm-mm. Their end caps, from what she was saying, were not incorporating Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
well.
they weren't incorporating Thanksgiving at all. I mean, they have pasta, and on one side they got brown sugar, and on the other side they got Mexican candy.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to eat your pasta with brown sugar, go ahead.
Yeah. They also were putting, I don't know why they just were doing a really bad job. Like it was the end caps were not giving Thanksgiving. So he was really mad about that because he wanted everything prioritized for Thanksgiving. When I left at 2 o'clock, he had yet to walk apparel, and he was in a bad mood. So usually when he's in a bad mood, he finds every little thing wrong with apparel. So I'm not there tomorrow, so I don't get to experience what the note said, but I will definitely hear about it Wednesday when I go in. They will definitely be like, "Hey, here are the notes."
And then I find out she went into a lot of go backs.
At least
a rack of go back. Like what I mean by rack is in our fitting room, we have a bar behind us, and that was full. Even though I got it down before I stepped out of the fitting room, and then she went into all that, and I never got a text, so I don't know who's in there this evening. Well, no, I do, but I haven't gotten a text yet on what's happening. So, yeah.
yeah.
Usually, I'm saying usually because it is becoming the holidays. Usually during the week, it's not too bad when it comes to the fitting room.
I think another reason we're so.
But it's going to come down to where it's going to get busier, and I'm going to have to ask for help.
I would say you're gonna walk into more.
Excuse me.
We walked into like 5 boxes of go backs this morning. It was bad.
Yep.
And
we're also being watched like a hawk. I mean, everybody is, but
somebody's apparel is being watched.
and then
we don't do a lot, but
yeah,
we never seem to have a moment of peace or quiet.
Nope. Without being or feeling like we're just being targeted. because people want to be mean. And then I heard yesterday about people stealing right over the radio. One good thing about having being in the fitting room, you get to hear everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
90%. Some of the time, I'll leave the radio at the fitting room because I don't feel like carrying it across the departments just for people to hear it. Right.
Yeah.
All right, kids.
Bye, guys.
We're getting off here. I'm gonna go take a shower before it gets too late. I've had 2 bowls of soup that I've made. No, I'm tired. So we will see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. We will talk about Thanksgiving.
Jeez, I need to do my stuff this Thursday.
And I need to. You might catch me. If it's on a Monday, I might make the pie crust on Monday. So I might be.
Oh, yeah, for Thanksgiving. Okay. You guys like that?
We might do a baking one next week.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Because I also have a doctor's appointment that Monday. I'll tell you later.
Huh?
I said I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay. You want
Yeah. All right. I will let you guys go.
Jeez.
Bye, guys.
Boy. See you later. Arrivederci.
See ya.
Hasta luego.